Hi, it's Leslie Meredith with Breakbulk Events and Media. I'm here in Bremen at Breakbulk Europe, and I'm joined by Ian Treder from OMA Group West Africa. Welcome.
Thank you, Leslie.
It's great to have you here. Now, Ian was the moderator on a panel that just wrapped up on the emerging market and opportunities available across the entire continent.
Yeah, I mean, we there are lots of projects. There's lots of project activity in the African continent, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. So we're seeing a lot of challenges around the Mauritanian Senegal basin at the moment, but surprising cooperation between the governments to enable that to happen. So yeah,
So, do you, excuse me, so does it look promising? Would you say we have a more optimistic outlook than we had, say, 5 years ago?
there are certainly there's lots of foreign investment in Africa at the moment. There are opportunities for, let's say, a positive extraction of oil and gas in particular in certain areas where there will be a strong local content, and this is one of the subjects that we discussed today. It's a transfer of skills. It's educating the workforce in Africa. There's a potential demographic population problem that exists that needs to be solved by investment from.
Is this mostly young people, the generation coming?
I mean, we'll see Nigeria by 2050 become the third highest populated country in the world.
Oh, that's amazing. I did not know that.
So this there are lots of apart from mouths to be filled. It's actually fulfilling the ambitions of the younger generation. So I was at a talk recently with a speaker from Chatham House, and he talked about the opportunities that existed for somebody from northern Mali, for example. So he has a choice. He can be a farmer, like his father was. He can travel to Bamako, where the streets are paved with gold. He can become a terrorist, and because he gets a gun and you know and
We're hoping not that one.
well, exactly. But this is a looming problem. So it is about managing to create happy workforces, but also to make sure that there isn't unemployment at ridiculous levels. And we still see that in South Africa. You know, South Africa is at 25%. We don't want that in sub-Saharan Africa.
No, we absolutely do not. Now, certainly the governments across the continent play a huge role in that. But what would the role be of private companies, those maybe that are investing or working in Africa? What can they do?
Well, in the beginning, it's making sure that you engage a willing workforce, because there is a certain willing workforce across the whole of sub-Saharan Africa that is fairly well educated already. I mean, you have a high an educated working class, a middle class rather, in Ghana and Senegal that are just waiting for the technology skills to be transferred to them, and it's making sure that that's consistent. Rather than it being a political move, it has to be an investment by foreign companies that are operating in those sectors and in that part of the world.
Do you think the public-private partnerships have improved?
Uh, I see there being much more an investment. There's a little bit of an internal investment. So if we look at somewhere like Nigeria, we've got Dangote, who is I don't know where he stands on the Forbes list, but you know anybody that's involved in Africa knows Dangote's name. Um, he's trying. I mean, he's just built this huge refinery, which we showcased today, and his intention is that Nigeria will become self-sufficient in fuel oil. So there will be no more imports within 3 or 4 years. Whether that's realistic or not is questionable, but it does show the will, and that's from a Nigerian entrepreneur who is now able to access finance from foreign markets. Let's not say the West. We use the West terminology wrongly quite often. So foreign investments are there for African entrepreneurs to actually pull on. I see there being less governmental investment and control and more private companies investing, whether that's an African company or whether that's a foreign company like BP, who are investing massive amounts. We have a new port development in Tema, for example, where it's MPS2, so it's a second container terminal, but it's effectively a new port. It's 1.25 kilometers of brand new key space, and that's a $1.1 billion investment. The Ghanaian ports will be involved in that. They will have a carried shareholding, but the finance is coming from abroad.
Well, that sounds promising. Certainly, infrastructure to get these projects done has been a challenge. Is that still the case? And where do you see investment in infrastructure happening now?
In the future, we need to, if we're encouraging new ports, we need to move the ports away from where they've traditionally been based, because the congestion that surrounds those ports with the roads is impossible to solve. I mean, you've got to knock down all existing structures and build new roads, and one, that doesn't make any economic sense, and politically that's going to be a big issue. So, for example, in Nigeria, they've been talking for years about building a new port in a place called Badagry that doesn't have a main road, a connecting highway at the moment. It's in the perfect location. Will it ever happen? I did ask Shenny on the panel before the panel whether he thought it would happen in his lifetime, and he was of the opinion, as am I, that another decade will pass before we see anything like that. So we'll see continued improvements within the Lagos port complex. Lekki port's coming on stream soon, but it faces the same challenge. You know, it's the weak road infrastructure. So there needs to be continued investment in roads around the ports and around to the major cities. But the problem is there's only so many more roads that you can build. So what do we need? We need possibly rail investment, water transport investment. And I think there is a will to invest in railways, but again, that's because of the way that railways traditionally have been run in Africa by the public sector. We need to encourage more private sector development in the railways and get that working, because that's the only way that I can really see us developing the infrastructure properly.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for sharing all that good information with us.
No, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
It's an eye-opener. All right.